Yeah, so for today's agenda, we would have first a brief walkthrough on Odoo's integration with Bahmni, and then we will go through the sales feature and the custom configurations that we did on top of the sales module. Then we will take a look at the payments feature, and then we will have a quick look on the purchase feature, wherein a specific customization has been done. And then we will take a look at the custom reports, and also we will have a walkthrough on the migration from older versions. So over this training, over the next 2 hours or 1.5 hours, we are not going to touch much deeper into the Odoo's default flows or functionalities. You can refer to Odoo's official documentations or their YouTube channels for the default features. So in this session, we would be covering what are all the customizations that has been added on top of Odoo to shoot Bahmni's environments and the other automated things, etc. Okay, with that, let me proceed. Yeah, so Odoo integration with Bahmni. So I think from 0.91, we have Odoo integrated with Bahmni. And Odoo comes as an integrated billing and inventory management system. So by integrated, we mean there is an automated sync process wherein we have a sync of drugs and other services, other orderables that you create in the EMR, syncs as products to the billing system. And then we have the patients that are registered being synced as customers. And any orders made against those patients are synced as quotation line items to Odoo. So this is how they sync different data from EMR sync to Odoo. And coming to the versions, until 0.91, we had OpenERP 7, and then from 0.92 until 0.93, and until now we have Odoo 10. But now as the Odoo community moves, Odoo releases new versions, we also wanted to migrate. So now with Bahmni Standard 1.0, we are going to ship with Odoo 16 as the default. So now you might be wondering, okay, so is only Odoo 16 the available version and standard? But yeah, we have Odoo 10 as well to help implementers move from CentOS based or any older versions to Docker directly as a database backup and restore mechanism. But that's going to be an intermediate migration for you, as Odoo 10 is out of support from the Odoo community and it's likely will not receive any security patches or updates. So we recommend migrating to Odoo 16 as soon as possible. Okay, so with that said, let's go into the configuration. So first I'll give you a brief walkthrough on the user flow, how Odoo integrates with Bahmni. So let's assume a patient named John Doe visits the facility and the patient is at the registration desk now. So let's register the patient. Is, let's say we are starting an OPD visit for the patient. So now the registration for the patient has been completed. Let's record some basic details. ID, maybe few data. Yeah. So now the preliminary details are also captured. Now let's say the patient moves on to the clinical, wherein the doctor consults the patient. Now the doctor uses the clinical module to capture few details for the patient. Yeah, so we have the patient listed over here. Let's go into the patient. Let me go into the consultation module. Yeah, so for example, let's say the doctor first captures the chief complaint of the patient. Let's say the patient says, I have chest pain for the last 2 hours. And then maybe now, as after the chest pain, now let's say the doctor wants to order few lab tests and the radiology orders. So now the doctor navigates to the orders module. Now let's say on the laboratory side, the doctor places an order for a CBC. And then on the radiology order side, let's say under chest. Okay, maybe let me take an MRI. Let's say we place one MRI order. And then also on the procedure side, let's order something. Yeah, let me save this. Yeah, so now few lab orders including the radiology orders are placed. Now let's say the doctor wants to prescribe few medications. Now let's say, let me prescribe paracetamol as an example. Twice a day for 2 days. And yeah, now let me save this as well. Yeah, so now the patient has completed the consultation. Maybe after a second consultation is also done, and the patient is now moving on to the billing or the pharmacy department. that is where Odoo comes into picture. Now let me open the Odoo system. Yeah. So this is the integrated Odoo, and this is where we get the new UI of the Odoo 16. Now here, as we can see, first let's go into the sales module. So if we see into the sales module, a quotation is automatically created for the patient with whatever data that we had ordered. Now let me open this quotation to quickly show you. Yeah, so as we can see, we have the procedure order synced, we have the lab order synced over here, we also have the radiology order that we placed synced over here, and also the medications that we prescribed are synced for the billing. So from here, the billing process would happen. Okay, so now that we have seen this flow, what happens in the backend? What are all the different configurations that are available? So first, what the Odoo system does is we have a configuration called the order types. So now you can find a menu named as Bahmni here, wherein all the master data for that is configured. So first is the order type. So here you can define what are all the different order types that you want to sync. So Bahmni supports creating custom order types as per your implementation. You can define as many order types as you want. So now let's say with the standard release 1.0, we are shipping procedure order as another default. Now these are all the different orders that are configured. So these are available over here if we see. So medication comes under a drug order, and the other three order types are defined over here. We have laboratory, radiology orders, and procedure orders. So now if you want to maybe define an additional order type, let's say counseling orders or counseling services, then you can define an order type in EMR. And once you define that, you can add a new order type over here. So based on this order type, whatever order type is defined over here, those get synced as products to the quotations. So now let's say in your facility, maybe, okay, I don't want to sync a specific order type. Maybe you are saying that, okay, lab orders, I don't have an inbuilt lab. I don't want to sync the lab orders. Then you can remove this lab orders from here and no quotations would be created or no quotation line items would be created for the lab order items alone. Whereas other orders would still continue to sync. Yeah. So the next thing that happens is the order type to shop mapping. So there is a feature called a shop which is introduced, wherein you can define a shop and map it to a stock location. And this shop has also got additional functionalities to define a price list for it. And why we came up with this approach is, okay, maybe you are running a special session wherein you want to give specific discounts to patients, or you may be saying, okay, I want to sync this specific when I am ordering in a specific location. I want to sync the orders to a different location. Or you may say, okay, I want to, like, say, for example, IPD has a different stock management, stock location altogether. So any order coming from an admission location should go here. So you can define a different shops and you can do an order type shop mapping. So now if we see the order type shop mapping, there is no specific shop mapping that is defined. So in that case, what would happen is the system would automatically pick the first shop that is defined over here. So in this case, we have only pharmacy over here. And if we see the quotation, it has automatically selected pharmacy. So now maybe let's go ahead and define a shop and see that in action. So let me say, let's create IPD shop, IPD room or IPD pharmacy. Okay, and warehouse would be my company, and then stock location for now I'll map it to the same stock location. Yeah, payment term you can configure, and the price list also if you want you can configure. Let me save this. Yeah, so we have a shop defined now. Next, let's proceed to the order type shop mapping. Now let's create one. So let's say order type. So any, maybe let's as an example take lab order. So any lab order should get synced to IPD pharmacy if the order location. So this order location name would be the location name in Bahmni. So this should match the name. We are doing a name based match. So for example, let's say general ward, right? So if we see now, any lab order that is placed in the general ward would use the shop as IPD pharmacy. Let's see that in action now, which is the location I'm logged in. Yeah, I am in general ward. Now let me place one more lab order. Maybe I'll place the CD4 panel. Yeah. So now once we place this order, let me go back to the sales. So the sync is set to 30 seconds now. Yeah, so now as soon as the sync happens, we can see that a new quotation using the shop IPD pharmacy is created. And now we can see that the specific lab order, the CD4 panel that we had created is synced over here. Now, if the patient has a visit in a different location of the hospital, then those would go to the order type shop mapping as defined here. So this is how you can use the order type shop mapping to define which specific order goes to which location. Yeah. Then let me go into the syncable units mapping. So if we take a look at the sales quotation now, for example, the first one that is created. So we can see that tablet map to 6 units on the system. So now, usually in a inventory management system, you might be storing the stocks at different stock keeping units. For example, syrups, you might be storing it in say bottle of 10 ml, bottle of 50 ml. But in Bahmni, you order the drug in a different format. Maybe let's try to order something. Paracetamol, let's say injection. Yeah, let's say 2 mg frequency twice a day for 3 days. Yeah, so now once we make this order, the unit for this is in mg. Now, when it syncs to Odoo, it may not be able to do an exact match of the unit because the dispensation might happen in different unit of measure than the one that is placed on the order. So in that case, we provide the syncable units mapping. Now let's quickly see how it got synced. Yeah, so now here if we see, the quantity is set to 0 because there is no units mapping, because this product paracetamol 150 mg per ml is defined in units in the billing system, but the order on the EMR has been placed in the mg unit. So here if we see, the default quantity will be set as 0. Now it is the responsibility of the billing person or the pharmacist to decide how much quantity that they want to enter over here and the stock keeping units of the specific product. And let's say if you want to define more such mappings, you can head over to Bahmni and then you would find a menu called as order type shop mapping. Sorry, syncable units mapping. So here we have defined. Now this Bahmni unit name field holds the unit that is placed in the EMR, and this is the Odoo's unit of measure. So as we saw, tablet is mapped to units over here. In the same way, units bracket of this is the default unit in Bahmni that maps to the default Odoo's unit of S. In the same way, you can define as many mappings as you need, so that the specific quantities that is placed in EMR would sync to the Odoo system with the quantity. And if a syncable unit mapping is not found, if it is not able to match an unit, then as I showed earlier, it would show a 0 quantity and we have an highlighting as well. So this would show as 0. Okay. So this is how different sync attributes can be configured between Bahmni and the Odoo system. Now, before I move on, any questions?
Yeah, hi. So these units are syncable from Bahmni, or we need to create our own?
The EOMs need to be created on our own on the Odoo system, because
Okay.
the units that are ordered from Bahmni can be different from the stock keeping units. For example, as I said, you may have a strip of 10 tablets, or you may dispense it in a bottle of 50 ml.
It means as it is as earlier working. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it's as it is as how it was on the older versions.
इसको reproduce नहीं बोलते.
Okay. Any other questions do we have? Okay, cool. If not, we can move ahead. So the next step in the billing process would be, okay, I need to confirm and invoice the patient and register
Hello.
yeah.
One question, can we sync automatically the Bahmni units of measurement to Odoo, or we need to configure it manually in the system?
So when you do a fresh setup of Odoo, you need to manually configure the unit of measure under its categories on the Odoo system.
So we right now we are not syncing the Bahmni unit of measurement to Odoo, right?
No, because it depends on the way you purchase the products, right? So we kept that to be configured on the inventory management system.
Okay, okay, clear.
Okay, right. Yeah, so this is where the different sync scenarios happen from Bahmni. So, and as soon as we complete a registration, that would be created as a customer here. So now we can see all the patients that are registered in the EMR syncs over as customers over here. Now, if I just search for the patient, yeah, you can either do a name-based search or you can do a ID-based search. Let's say 00015. You can find the patients by ID. This is possible across all the pages, even from the quotations page. Let's say you may have multiple quotations. In that case, if you want to find a specific patient, you just put the ID of the patient and you can filter it out. All right. Yeah. So now, as I mentioned, the next step would be proceeding with the confirmation of the quotation. So now here, if we do a confirmation with the whatever has synced, you would be given a prompt that, okay, quantity is 0. Either you need to update the quantity or remove the product line if you are not dispensing. So now we need to update this. Maybe I'll say 12 units. Very good. Yeah. So now let me click on confirm. Yeah. So once you click on confirm, by default, Odoo, how it has been designed is there is a multi-step process. As soon as a quotation is confirmed, there is an invoicing process and there is a stock delivery process. So now, as we can see here, now this is asking us to create an invoice and the delivery order has also been created. So now if we click on create invoice, it would prompt us for different options. You want to create a regular invoice or a down payment invoice or a down payment with a fixed amount. Now we can say create and view invoice. Yeah, and then it creates an invoice in a draft mode, and then I can click on confirm. So to confirm the invoice. Yeah, and then it would prompt to the register payment section, wherein you can register a payment against this invoice from the patient. But now, as we have seen, this takes a multi-step process. And even now there is a process for the delivery order, wherein we can see there is a delivery order created and it is in the draft mode. Now, based on the products that has been ordered, we need to validate the delivery order. Now, since this is a multi-step process, if your facility has a multi-step process and you want to do the invoicing process separately and the delivery process separately, and there is multiple departments involved, you can use this process. But let's say, okay, you have a pharmacy and there is a pharmacist team who is just handling everything, right from dispensing and payment. We have automated these steps. So let me go back. So there are few configurations available. So now earlier in the older systems, we used to have the configurations across different menus. But now with Odoo 16, we have extracted all those configurations to a menu called as Bahmni. So under this menu, you will find different configurations. So here you can see the first option is you can enable auto delivery on sale order confirmation action. So once you do a sale order confirm action, the delivery will be automated. And the next configuration that is available is enable auto invoice on sale order confirm action. So as soon as you confirm the sale order, then the invoice will also be posted. Now let's enable these two and let's say save. Yeah, so now these two configurations are enabled. Now let's go back to the sales page again. Now let me open the other open quotation. Okay, we have this one open quotation. Now let's say if we click on confirm, we can see that the invoice is created, and since this is just a service, there is no delivery order associated for this product. And if we see the invoice state also, we can see that the invoice is posted and it is ready to be registered as a payment. So in this way, if you are a single person handling the pharmacy or if you want to automate these processes, you can toggle on those two configurations and the invoice posting as well as the delivery order will be automated. Now let me go back and show you the delivery order automation as well. Let's create a order. Let me use the same patient shop. Let's say I want to use the pharmacy and let's just say the password. Maybe 5 units. Let's say unit price of 2 rupees. Yeah. Now once we confirm this quotation, we can see that the invoice is also created and the delivery order is also created. Now, if we check the status of the delivery order, we can see that the delivery order is marked as done. And in the same way, if we go back to the invoice is also created and it is ready for to be registered the payment. Now, maybe you may say, okay, I want this to be automatically, I won't be automatically redirected to the registered payment section. So there is also an option possible, but that is at the user level. You can have a specific set of users as soon as they confirm the quotation, get them redirected to the payments page. So there is an option possible. So now let me log in as an admin user. Yeah, I'm on the other window. Let's go to, so in order to enable that config, first you need to go into the settings and enable the debug mode. Then you would get a technical user section. Yeah. So now once we go to users and let's say take the pharmacist role, and under section technical, you would find an option which says redirected to payments on sale order confirmation. So now I can enable this and save this. And once we are done, let me go back here. Yeah, and please be noted that this would be automatically redirected only when you have the invoice auto invoicing option enabled. Without invoices, the payment registration cannot be done. So now let's create one more registration payment. Let's say John Doe itself. Let's say pharmacy. Let's add a product. Maybe I'll use the same one again. Quantity 1, unit prices 2. Confirm. Yeah, so now as we can see, all the invoice has been posted and it automatically took us to the payments page. So this is another step where you can, okay, if you want to just register the payment as soon as I confirm the sale order, you can enable this automated option as well. Okay, so now as we had did this patient, for this patient John Doe, we have did multiple invoices. Now you may be wondering, okay, I want to close all the invoices for this patient, or maybe if it is an IP patient, you may have invoices created daily and you want to, as a single payment, receive the payment. So now if we see the invoicing screen, we can see that these many invoices are open for this patient with different amounts. Now, how do I register a payment? By default, Odoo supports either you go into each of the invoices, do a register payment, or use this payment screen to register a payment. Or otherwise, you can also select multiple invoices and do action register payment. Yeah, so it would give you a group payments option and it would show you the total. So instead of these many steps, the payment screen is also customized a little bit and we have a setting for that. Let me go into Bahmni settings and then we have enable auto allocation of payments and credits to outstanding invoices. Now, once we do this, save. And if we head back over to the invoicing and then customer payment screen, and when we try to register a new payment, let's search for the patient. 00015. Yeah. So as soon as you select the patient, you can see all the open invoices which has a pending amount is listed over here, and you can register the payment amount. And here maybe the patient might say, okay, I can't pay it in full. I want to pay a part amount now. So let's say I want to pay a $10. Now I can just say 10, and automatically the system will allocate the $10 to the initial invoices, the invoices that are first opened. So now we can see on this invoice we had $3, $1, $12. Now the $10 that we supplied is used to this, like say $4 are utilized here, and this is completely closed. And then the remaining 6 is used to this invoice, specific invoice. Now let me confirm this. Yeah, so now once this is confirmed, we can see that the payment is allocated to 3 different invoices. And if we open, we can see that those 3 invoices, like these 2 are completely paid, and this we have a partially paid. And we can see from where the payment has happened also from here. The payment date and everything can be seen over here. Yeah, so this is the customization that is done on the payment screen. But other invoices and other screens are the same that Odoo supports. Yeah. So any questions here or any thoughts?
Okay, I have the one question on the quotation generation. Is there any provision for generating the quotation for registration fee?
That's not shipped out of the box, and we capture registration fee at the initial side. There are few discussions on the talk thread, but registration fee, since it's captured as an observation, that doesn't sync. We need to set it up as an order type.
Okay.
So yeah.
Hello, can you hear
Any
me?
other questions? Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So one question. Thank you for the presentation. I think sometimes if a patient has, if the medical doctor has ordered maybe a lab test and the patient cannot pay for the full amount, maybe he has some insurance. How are we going to manage here to make sure that the patient can pay only what is supposed to pay? And also considering that the quotation is exactly what was ordered by the doctor, but now the invoice is what the patient can pay it. So my question is, if the patient is actually insured, how are you going to only pay what is supposed to pay? And next thing is, if the patient has not yet paid, how and then the patient move to the lab test for sample collection and processing, how the system can is this been marked in Odoo so that they can also check which patient has paid or not?
Okay, so I think there is a couple of questions. So one thing on, okay, whether how do I know whether the patient has paid? It's up to you to define the flow. Okay, so once the doctor prescribes the lab order, if you want to get that paid first, then the patient flow should be decided accordingly, so that the patient comes to the billing department and completes with the payment, and you maybe generate a receipt, and then the patient takes it to the lab and gets the lab test done. But there is no integration between Odoo or the lab management system which says, okay, for this order, the payment has been done. And then next on the insurance part, so we have a discount feature, but specific to insurance or insurance tracking about the packages, there is no default integration that is done, but you can explore any community modules that you can check. So if there is any insurance management module, Odoo has a app store where you can find and install, or even you can build a customized module of your own. But out of the box, we don't have any insurance module as such, which allows you to track the insurance package. This is shipped.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
So final question. I saw that you has in the configuration there are two options that need to be stick, so that when we are creating the invoice, when we are accepting the quotation or creating the invoice, I don't know, is it creating the deliver, or I did not really get what you were explaining.
Okay, so on this, there are two things. One is the delivery order. So you might be managing your inventory, right? So once you confirm the delivery order only, your inventory quantity would be reduced. So that is the first configuration. This is to enable the automatic validation of the delivery order. So now once you place an order, the delivery order, confirm a quotation, the delivery order will be validated. And the next is the invoicing process. So this basically is the dispensing, wherein as soon as you dispense a product out of your pharmacy, you need to validate the delivery order. Next is the payment process, wherein you receive the payment for whatever you dispense or whatever you give to the patient.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is how typical ERP systems are designed as well. So there is an invoicing process and there is a product delivery process.
That makes sense.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cool. Now let's move on to the next one. So we have one on the purchase module. So on the purchase module, there is a specific feature wherein which allows you to set a specific sale price markup. So Odoo supports different ways of setting markup rules. One is the price list option, wherein you can set it at a product level or even at a customer level, or you can set it at, like, say, specific product types or categories. Apart from that, Bahmni supports a custom model wherein you can set specifically to the lots. Okay, if this lots price is within this range, set a specific markup rule. So that applies only for products enabled with the tracking by lots, meaning like say you may have drugs that are tracked by lots, and those calculations apply on the products that are tracked by lots. Now let's go into the products page and enable a tracking for a specific product. As an example, let's take aciclovir. And inventory, I'll go to tracking by lots. I also, let's say, track by expiration date. Now let me save this product. Yeah. Now, how do you define the sale price
Sir,
markup?
Surma
Again,
Company Nissan, sir. Dalkuni जाऊँ sir, पढ़ने sir.
sorry, was that a question?
उहाँकै लागि बनाइदिएको सजिलोको लागि सर. अनि मेरो जाहिर छैन.
Say maybe you can mute yourself.
त्यस्तो सुस्तो हुँदैन. उहाँहरूको काम एक घन्टामा होस् भन्ने. कल सेन्टरको भनिएको
Okay, all right. Yeah. So now moving to the Bahmni menu again. So this custom configuration is also available over here. I'll head over to sale price markup rule. So here you can define if the price is within this minimum cost and the maximum cost, this is the markup percentage that should be applied. So now let's define a range. Let's say if my minimum cost is 1 and like say to the maximum range of 100, then my markup percentage would be, let's say, 2%. Yeah, so this is the rule definition that we had did now. So you can define as many rules as you want between different ranges. Now, for example, let me add a new one. Let's say if it is from 150 or let's say 101 to 200. I can say my markup rate percentage would be 1%. So these are the two rules that we had configured. Now let me go on to the purchase module. Let's do a purchase order. New, let's create some vendor. Okay, let's add the product for which we had enabled tracking. This is the one. G, let's say I want to purchase 50 quantity. And I'll say the vendor is giving me at a unit price of 50 rupees. And my MRP is 60. Yeah, confirm order. Receive products. Okay, this product doesn't have a tracking by lot, I guess. Let's quickly check. Okay, as a clover 250 mg is the one we had enabled, right? Okay, let's make a new one. Use the same vendor. As a clover 250 mg, yes. Let's say quantity 50, unit price is 10. MRP, okay, we had defined this. Yeah, MRP, let's say 20 as an example. Confirm order, receive products. Yeah, so now here we can see that on the cost price, a markup value is applied. So the cost price along with the tax is 11.50 and a markup of 1% is applied over here on this price. So we can see that that is being added to the sale price and shown. So now I can receive these products. Let me say lot 1 and I'll put an expiration date. And my done quantity is going to be 50. Confirm. Yeah, all right. So now for me to use this price, let's validate this order. Yeah, so this is the cost price and 11.73 is the sale price with which we are going to sell this product. So now to use this price of the product, the specified by the law that is did by the sale price markup, there is a configuration again. I'll go to settings. I'll go to Bahmni. So there is this sale price markup rule and save. Yeah, so now once we enable this configuration, if we do a sale order, let's say the quotation happens, let's use the same patient. Try pharmacy. Clover 250 mg. Yeah, and we can see that the quantity that is taken is 1 and it automatically selects the first expiring batch and the unit price is 11.73. Now, in the same case, if we disable the rule, settings, Bahmni, if I disable the markup rule and save it, it would take the price from the products master. So whatever price is defined against the product, that would be used. Let me show one example, new. Add product. Yeah, so now the price comes as 0 because for this product, the unit price, the sale price and the cost price is not yet defined. Yeah, so this is the markup rule configuration wherein you can define based on the purchase price range. The system can automatically add a markup value and store it over here. And then for all the next set of sales, it can use the same data. Now there is one more configuration which is possible. I'll quickly go here to settings and show that as well. So wherein we have an option called allocate quantity from multiple batches. So now that the product sync from EMR, the quantity can be dispensed across multiple batches. So here the system tries to do a best match wherein first the expiring batch, the batch which is expiring first will be selected and then the next following batch would be selected. So now let's set up some data for it. Let me go to purchase. Now let's quickly use the same product wherein we had received a cyclo 250 mg. On lot 1 we had received 50 quantities. Now let's say I'll make one more order to receive it in a different batch as well. Cyclo 250 mg. Let me say on this I receive only 2 quantities, just as an example. Confirm order, receive products, and this time I'm, let's say, receiving under lot 2. And let's say this lot expires first. So last time we had used August 31. Let's say this lot expires at August 13. And my done quantity is 2. Confirm. Holiday. Yeah, expiration date. Okay, so now if we quickly go to inventory and see the products, not serial number, we can see this product has got 2 lots, L1 and L2. And let's say enable the expiration date as well. Yeah, we can see that the expiration date L1 expires at August 31st, whereas L2 expires at August 13th. So we have 50 quantities here and then 2 quantities on this one. Now let's place an order for this specific drug from EMR and see this, how it selects it from multiple batches. Let's see if we had enabled the configuration. Bahmni allocate, yeah, same. Okay, now that we have enabled this, let's say I'll also set up a syncable units mapping. Bahmni, let me put this in mg, sync it to units. Save. Now let me go to EMR and place an order. Cyclovir 250 mg powder for injection. Let's say a total of 10 mg I want to prescribe once a day for 1 day. So my total quantity is going to be 10. Now let's save this order. Now let's go to the sales module and wait for the quotation to be updated. Yeah, so the sync has happened. Okay, this is the one that we created before. Okay, yeah. So we have the Bahmni EMR sync that has created this quotation. And now here we can see that the quantity is allocated. So we had the 2 quantity which is allocated from lot 2, which expires first. So this is on August 13, 2024, which has been selected first, and the remaining 8 quantities is selected from the next expiring batch. So in this way, if you have multiple batches, the system would automatically select. And if you have, like, say, okay, I totally have only 8 quantities and the request is for 10 quantity, then the quantity would be synced, but the batch would not be selected. It's up to the pharmacist to select, okay, which batch should be selected for the dispensation. Yeah. So with that, we had covered all the customizations. Any questions here? So rest other flows are the Odoo default flows. These are few customizations that has been added on top of existing Odoo flows.
Yeah, I have a question regarding syncing. So I saw in repository there are APIs created for syncing. So are they still using Atom feed and they are calling API from there, or what is the flow, current flow in new version?
Yeah. In the new version with Odoo 16, we are using a REST-based APIs. A custom module has been added which supports REST APIs, and the REST APIs are being called from our OpenERP Atom feed service, Odoo Connect service, which receives events from EMR Atom feed events, and then in turn calls this
Process.
process. Yeah, REST APIs.
Good. Thanks. So ERP Connect is same. It is nothing is upgraded over there, right? So it is as it is as early.
Yeah, the flows are the same. Yeah. So whatever is supported in Odoo 10 or OpenERP 7, we had made a feature parity so that all the things are supported.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So one more question for syncing. So right now, suppose this is a little bit out of box from Odoo. So right now we are syncing lab result, means lab orders to here, and we want to sync that lab orders to Fire server. So is there any APIs available for this, or we need to customize our own for this?
You mean you want to sync to a different Fire server?
Yeah, means just order. I want to sync a lab order. I want to sync that to Fire server.
Yeah, so with our distro, we are bundling the Fire to OMAD. So there are Fire APIs. You would either have a diagnostic report Fire API. So you should be able to get that, pass the required data, and then you should be able to get the details in the Fire format itself.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, all right. I think we are
Sorry, one more question is there.
yeah.
Suppose we have two lots for the same products, and we are using the sell markup, sell price markup, and from first lot some partial quantity is delivered, and customer wants the some additional quantity. Then is it possible to use that another batch number also?
Yeah, you can for sure add a line over here, and you can select from which batch you want to dispense.
But what about the price?
And you can select the additional quantity that you want to dispense to the patient.
Okay,
So if you use a sale price markup rule, then that specific lot's pricing will be taken.
Sorry?
No, if you have enabled the sale price markup feature, then based on the lot that you select, that specific price would be taken.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's up to you to decide. Even if the system provides with you an auto-filled value here, if you want to make changes to the price or provide some alterations, you can make changes in the unit price column as well.
Okay.
So Odoo allows that functionality. This can also be updated.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right.
So can you just share how can we add custom modules? Is the means what functionality are added in Docker config?
Yeah, sure, Shashank. Yeah, thanks for bringing up that question. Yeah, so Odoo supports adding custom modules, as we all know. So one option is the apps feature. So here there are a lot of apps that are available. By default, Odoo bundles these apps, and we had activated only the minimal required apps that are needed for the integration and sync. Maybe in your implementation, if you are using an additional app or additional feature, then you can feel free to install these apps directly. So few of these are available out of the box in Odoo. Now the next question could be, okay, I want to use apps from the Odoo App Store. So Odoo supports an Odoo App Store wherein you can use any app from here. For example, maybe let's say I want to take an accounting. And let's say you can have different versions. Maybe since we are supporting with Odoo 16, you can say download for Odoo v16. So this would give you a zip file wherein you need to extract that and put it into the Docker-based deployment. So now one option for you would be either if you are going to deploy it on a cloud or if you want to do multiple deployments, then you build a custom image. So you can add your own modules and build a custom image on top of Bahmni's Odoo image. Or the other option, okay, I want to try it out locally first. The option that is supported is on the Docker Compose, you have an option wherein you can mount your extra add-ons. There is an extra add-ons path environment variable. So you can specify, okay, where are my extra add-ons located? By default, it points to the same directory wherein you have an extra add-ons folder gets created automatically. You can put all your extra add-ons, whatever you download, or if you want to build your custom module, you put the module inside this folder. And if you restart Odoo, Odoo would automatically show that in the app screen, and you can activate it from here and install it. So this is an option wherein you can pull modules from the app store and install it.
Okay, and what about if I want to customize the Bahmni default module, what Bahmni created? So how can I copy that?
Yeah, so if you want to customize the default module, as I had done here, so there is an option called as Bahmni Odoo modules path. So you can give where does your Odoo modules exist. So this is our repo, Bahmni Odoo modules repo. So you can clone the repo on your machine and you can mount this. So there would be a commented volume. So this volume by default would be commented. You can uncomment this volume and just mount the folder. And you can do a development if you want to enhance or if you want to customize something. You can do it and test it out and then build an image. And once you are using it in production, you can comment this back and use your own customized image.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, and then another thing that I wanted to call out here is there is something called as Odoo Community Association, wherein there are modules provided by different community members. So you can, if you want to customize something or if you want an additional flow, you can also take a look here. So this has a lot of modules categorized by different workflows. So for example, if you want something customizations on sales, you can use the sale workflow directory repository wherein you get a lot of modules. These are smaller modules which help you to achieve, like say a customization. So somebody would have already did it. Instead of you doing it again, you can reuse whatever the community has contributed before. I'm just posting the link on chat.
Is it only for the community edition or also support the enterprise or SaaS?
Amit, by enterprise or SaaS, you want to use Odoo enterprise version?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you can install enterprise version though. You just need to add these custom apps.
Okay, okay.
Bahmni custom apps
Bahmni
to
related, right?
yeah, to affect the sync from EMR.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think even on the SaaS version there is support, but I don't know if you can expose additional endpoints from the SaaS versions.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so with that we are at the end of the feature walkthrough. So before we move on to the migration, okay, then I missed the custom reports. So with Odoo, there are now few reporting capabilities. So one is Odoo supports reporting at different places. For example, under inventory, if you want to check the reports, like say what are all the different moves that has happened, Odoo supports this format as well, wherein you can just say go here reporting and see whatever transfers that has happened. And in order to have a more consolidated report, there is also a reports module that has been developed. So there are few reports that are added. So for example, we have a stock statement report, or we have a location-wise product movement register, expiry reports. You want to say, I want to see the expiring reports or expired product list. There are different reports possible. So you can explore these reports, try out. Yeah. So each of the report takes in specific input field. So for example, stock statement report says from which date to which date you want to get the report. You can say from which stock location. So for example, if I say WA stock and I'll say summary and I want the report in Excel format, generate. So it would give you an Excel of all the stock transactions that has happened. We open this. So you get to get a report like this, wherein you can say, okay, this is the product, how many that has been purchased, quantity, what is the opening stock, and what is the closing stock, and what internal inverts has happened. Everything would start showing up over here. Yeah, in this way, different reporting capabilities are possible. You can explore these. Okay, so before we move on to the migration walkthrough, maybe let's take a quick short 5 minutes break and then we can resume again. Any questions?
I think there was a question from Shivaram in terms of the GST. You need to define it as part of your product definition in the Odoo as a part of tax. There are other things we don't cover specifically. For example, typically when you do this, you would also want to do some accounting. So especially if you're doing a new installation, you need to set up your some of the metadata, master data, like say, for example, locations, your company informations, currencies that you're going to deal with, your vendors, suppliers, and all that. Now, depending on whether you want to use this as an primarily accounting or not, you will have to take a call whether you would use accounting. So there is an we are not bundling it, but there is a open source accounting package. What is it called, Mohan?
Yeah, so for accounting, I think in older versions we had it out of the box by Odoo. Now
Yeah.
accounting has been made as an enterprise version. So we had explored the community module, which is by Cybrosys. We have a Odoo 16 full accounting kit.
Yeah, so this is a pretty decent, but again, you need to evaluate and see whether this fits your purpose or not, right?
Yeah.
You might want to, especially this is going to be one of the most important thing if you want to manage accounting over here, you probably want to do a full evaluation whether this would suffice or something. Now, once you do the typical accounting package, you need to also import, for example, your chart of accounts. So just search for chart of account India or something like this.
Yeah, Indian accounting chart of account.
Yeah, so you'll have to use. So what is chart of accounting? Every country has got certain specific codes, another way of organizing, maintaining their accounts. It will do that. And then once you have done that, specifically towards GST, you will probably create an account, like say GST account or something. And at the part of your product definition, while applying the tax and everything, you are also going to mention that uh, uh, where should it be going to. So you can get a report subsequently, and your trial balance and other things will tell you.
Yeah. So once you do the accounting, you would get options here wherein you can define what's the purchase tax or what is the accounts that should be used for the specific sales.
Yeah, John, you probably have to evaluate whether on the 16 that the same OHADA accounting is compatible or not. Right.
Yeah.
All right, Mohan, you're taking a break, right?
Yes,
Sure.
I'm sure. We'll resume back at 5:35. Okay, cool. So now that we have Odoo 16 shipped as default with Bahmni Standard 1.0, what's the migration path for existing implementations? How do I come from older versions to Odoo 16? So before we go into the migration guide and detailed explanations, there are a few points that we recommend you to consider before thinking of a migration. So since the model and since every OpenERP or Odoo implementation becomes unique by the installation of custom modules or custom features, so this migration is not going to be like a backup and restore. So it's not like, okay, I have all the data in my Odoo 10. You would like to come to Odoo 16 with all the quotations, line items. It's not going to be the same way. So what we recommend is think it of as a fresh setup. Okay, so just say, okay, I want to start with Odoo 16. So let me start it as a fresh setup and start your configurations. So we have migrations guide for few of the metadata that can be migrated from the old version to Odoo. But specifically on the transactional data, we would recommend don't like say pull in all the quotations or all the confirmed orders, everything as such, because you can keep running those systems for accounting purposes. But it's recommended you think of a fresh setup and start configuring. But in your implementation, due to regulatory things or due to other requirements, if you want to, okay, I want to migrate the entire data, I don't want to go with a fresh setup, then additional scripting or additional migration steps needs to be identified based on your implementation setup. So the migration guide that we are shipping out is for like say high level migration that helps to migrate the metadata and very critical transactional data into the new Odoo. Yeah. So first we would recommend you, since this has Odoo 16 has got a different UI, different features, the menus and everything has been regrouped. So we recommend analyzing and exploring the feature compatibility in Odoo 16. So in your implementation, you may be using a specific custom module for a specific functionality, or you may be using a different workflow altogether. So we recommend first analyze Odoo 16 and do a thorough investigation whether all the flows that you are doing in your existing system is compatible. If not, what additional module do you require? Any additional App Store modules to be installed? Or do you want a custom modules to be developed? Then the next thing would be to plan for a cutoff timeline. So since we are going to be migrating from an old system and start using a new system, you can think of a timeline. Okay, when do you want to migrate to the new system? So in few places, maybe if you are using accounting, you may need to switch at a financial year end. So for example, okay, starting from this financial year, all my transactional entries are going to come onto the new system. Any old transactional reports or accounting reports, I can run it on an old system so that it would give you a logical reporting for your accounting sections. Yeah, and then as I mentioned earlier, migration of the data is going to be highly dependent on the implementation specific features that are added. So maybe on the accounting side, you might have custom chart of accounts, you may have defined custom financial year definitions, custom reports. So the migration of the transactional data is going to be depending on the implementation. Yeah. So with that said, let's move into the migration guide. So now we have published a migration guide based on one of our implementation migrations that has happened. Yeah. So now in this guide, the first step would be, as Angshu mentioned earlier, you need to do basic configurations. So for example, that would include company information, what is the currency that you are going to use, what's the round of value, and then sale configuration that we just saw. For example, do you want to use automated features or not? What about the taxes? Different unit of measure configurations. You want to use price list feature. And then inventory configurations include enable tracking by lots for the features. What are the different stock locations, warehouse? So Odoo supports multiple warehouses, multiple stock locations options as well. Or you can use with a single warehouse or a single stock location option. So all these investigations and setup should be done. And then any additional modules and their configurations if needed. Yeah. And in the older versions, as we discussed just before this, accounting module has been a default version, but now that has been made under an enterprise version, enterprise module. So a community module is added as an optional module, but it's up to the implementer to install it and try out whether the feature parity or the flows that we have been using in the older system is the same. Yeah. So now coming to the data migration and rollout. So actually this involves two different phases, I would say. So first would be transferring your metadata and master data. So what do we mean by metadata and master data? So this includes maybe as a master data, if we take these are the product definitions that you would have done, the supplier information, the customer informations, and then stock locations. And then metadata would be that we had defined for the Bahmni EMR sync. That includes order type shop mappings, syncable units mappings, etc. So once you have the master data and metadata setup, then comes the transactional data migration. So transactional data, by transactional data, we mean, okay, what is the stock entries, stock levels, my current implement, like inventory management, what is my current outstanding, balance sheets, etc. Yeah, so we had identified 4 different steps which you need to follow in this sequential order. So first would be the master data migration. So master data migration, as I said before, we have a module. So we have an automated migration wherein the Odoo 16 custom module that is developed connects to your OpenERP 7 or a Odoo 10 databases and migrates these data from your older implementation to the newer implementation. So one is the unit of measure categories, then unit of measure, then the product categories, products, customers, and suppliers. All these 6 items can be migrated using this module. And then there are few other master data, which is the manual migration using an Excel or CSV based import. So for example, once you have these data, then the next option would be, okay, I want to fetch my stock location. So in your older systems, you may have specific list of stock locations defined. Okay, pharmacy is my location where I store my stocks. Maybe stock room is a location where you store other stocks. And depending on your implementation, you can have n number of stock locations. So for that, you can use the Excel based import. Next could be shop configuration, order type shop configuration. So for all of this, we have documented what is the Excel file structure that you need to provide. So if you construct an Excel in this format or a CSV file in this format, so every menu you would find a import session. So import option wherein you can pass the CSV file and import it into the new Odoo. Now let's quickly see few of those. So in order to demonstrate this feature, I have both Odoo 16 as well as Odoo 10 installed on my local. Let me open that. So localhost Odoo 8069. So this is my Odoo 16, which is very fresh. It is not yet configured with anything. Yeah. So once you set up Odoo, the first step would be you would need to configure your company information. So for that, you can go to settings and you can configure your company information. So by default, it comes with my company. We recommend you configure your company specific details, addresses. You can use the currency. So this currency is very important. Once you do any transactional data, any sort of a sale order or an invoicing process, you would not be able to change the currency information. So we highly recommend first you do all this master data setup and also the accounting configurations. For example, under settings, if you go to invoicing, you would have like say, what is the chart of account that I need to use and what is the default sale tax, default purchase taxes, main company currency. So you do all these configurations, then you go ahead with the master data migration. So now as an example, let's take Odoo 10. Now let me open my Odoo 10 also on a different window. Yeah, so this is my existing Odoo 10 environment wherein I have a few data already. So let's say I have few products that are already defined over here, and then I have few customers created. And even if I go into the purchase module, I have few vendors that are created, and then same case with the products list as well. Now let's see how we can migrate these metadata into the Odoo 16. So as I'll go through the documentation one. So here it is defined. If your implementation is on OpenERP 7, you look at this page. If you are on Odoo 10, you can take a look at this page. Yeah, so for Odoo 10 to 16 migration, we have a custom module which connects to your Odoo 10 databases and then migrates the data into Odoo 16. So if you are migrating from your existing server to a new one, we recommend you first check if you can migrate, if your database can be connected from the Docker host. So you can use this command, pass the IP of your old server and check if the connection is successful. Now let me go. And then we have a custom module named as Odoo 10 data import. So now let's quickly go ahead and install it. So this is an optional module. So it doesn't come installed by default. Based on your implementation, if you are migrating, then we recommend installing it. So we head over here, we search for Odoo 10. Yeah, and we have this Odoo 10 data import. Now let me activate. Yeah, so now that the module is installed, the next step would be we can run the migration jobs. So let's open the page. Let's go through this. Yeah. So the next would be the configuring the database connection details. So now my Odoo 10 data import module should connect to the database. So for that, I head over again under Bahmni. We have a menu called as Odoo 10 data import. So here you click on new and then you put the DB host IP. So in my case, Odoo 10 is running under the same Docker network. So I can just use the service name. So let me just say Odoo -10-DB and my database is going to be Odoo and default port it runs on 5432. Username is Odoo. Let me enter the password. Yeah, I can do test connection. So now if the Odoo module is custom module is able to establish a connection to the database in details that you are configuring, it would give you a DB connection successful. If you face any errors, then there may be firewalls restricting it, or your username credentials or the IP address might be different. So you need to check and make a successful data connection with the database. So the next step is you need to follow these 6 jobs manually step by step. So this would help you migrate all the 6 metadata. So first is the UOM category. Let's click on this. Yeah. So now the migration is complete. Next is going to be UOM and then product category. And next is product. This would take a little bit of time to migrate all the products. Yeah. In the meantime, let's quickly go through the documentation. Yeah. So as mentioned here, you can run the migration jobs in the specified order, because these are interrelated. So now when you want to create an unit of measure, the unit of measure category needs to be migrated first. Same with product as well. If you want to create products, their associated product categories needs to be migrated. Yeah. So let's wait for the import to complete. You would also have a log of the migration process in the Odoo logs. Let's quickly see. Yeah, we can see that the product is getting migrated. Okay, in the meantime, it completes the migration. Any questions? I think the migration is complete. Let's quickly see if the products are migrated. Yeah, so now we can see that all the products that are available in our Odoo 10 version has been migrated over here. So now there are again few things here as we discussed before. All the accounting or the product tracking that you want to set, you need to configure it on the new Odoo version. The base information, including the tracking details, are migrated. The cost price, sale price information would be migrated. But any other Odoo 16 specific configuration, if you want to do that, needs to be done manually on the newer version. So now let's go into the next job, which is the supplier migration. Yeah, so here if you see, there are 2 additional input fields. So why this has been introduced is that based on your implementation, if you have too much customer information or too many supplier informations, then you need to go on a batch by batch process. So now for customers and suppliers, we recommend going by an increment of 20,000. or else there could be an out of memory error wherein when it reads the data from the old instance and tries to insert it, it may run into an out of memory error. So that's why the start ID and end ID is provided over here. So you can get the count of your existing customers or suppliers from the existing version and then go by a batch. So now that we have only minimal, I'll go with whatever I have, supplier and then customer. Now let's quickly see. I'll go to customers. Okay, I think, yeah. So we can see the supplier migrated. Maybe customer information is not yet done. Purchase, vendor, if we see, Doe Medicos that we saw in the older version is also migrated. Purchase, vendors, if we go, yeah. So this information is migrated. Yeah, so this is the way how you can use the custom module Odoo 10 data import module to migrate your different metadata from the older version to the newer version. Okay, any questions here?
Yes, Mohan Kumar.
Yeah.
Currently, do we have any feature to connect the Bahmni database from Odoo? Because in some cases, we need to fetch the fields or tables data into Odoo from the Bahmni database or Bahmni tables for for some certain conditions or validation. So, is any connector or modules available to connect with the Bahmni database from Odoo side?
You mean the OpenMRS database?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
that's not possible. And even why would a Odoo system connect to the database directly? If you want to query for any data or something, you can use a reporting tool to do that.
Okay, but if I want to use some OpenMRS, Bahmni database into the Odoo for some certain conditions or validations, so is any kind of feature available to connect the Bahmni database from the Odoo side?
No, that's not available anything out of the box.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Okay, all right. So this is how you use the custom module to migrate all this data. Next, let's move on. So the next step would be once you migrate these basic data, then the next step would be you can use the Excel-based CSV import to migrate these data. So you can export these as CSVs from your older system. So let's quickly see. Let me go to sales. Let's take the order types as an example. So here, as Odoo 10 also supports this and Odoo 16 also you have this option. So you can select whatever you want to export and you can say export. And it would give you can say export all data and you can export the specific details you want, maybe name, display name. And then I can just say export to file. You would get an order type.csv. Yeah, so now once you do this, you can head over to Odoo 16 again. And then now if I want to import order types, let me go to the order types menu, order type, new, sorry. Yeah, favorite is import records. And here we can pass on a CSV or an Excel file. So let me choose this file. Yeah, so actually if we see here, this would automatically try to do a matching. Okay, where are we? I think shop name. Okay. So this is on the order type. This would try to match it with the specific details that we are providing from the CSV file. So either you can export it and then map the field specifically. If you are okay, order type name, then I map it to name and then order type location name, you can map it. Or if you want to create your CSV manually, you can follow this structure, name, usage, and then shop configuration, order types, everything. And then just prepare a CSV on what configurations you want to, and then you can pass it. So every menu, wherever you see a model, there would be a favorites, and you can see the import options. And you can import these data using the CSV based import. Yeah. So with this, you will have the required metadata. So the next step would be to decide on the transactional data. So as I mentioned earlier, this depends on your implementation. If you are using specific accounting features, then you need to redefine the import process based on your needs, but this guide guides you how to migrate the stock data or the patient outstanding information using a CSV or an Excel based import process. So first let's take a look at the stock data migration. Yeah, so by stock data, you may be tracking your products by lots, and your existing inventory locations would have stocks at specific locations. Now, how do you bring in those data into the new system? Yeah, so the first thing would be you need to prepare a CSV file which would help you to do a lot numbers creation. So whatever lots that you are using that is currently in your stock, you can pull it. So you need to prepare a CSV in this structure wherein you pass the product's name and the lot name, the cost price, sale price, and the expiration date of the specific lot. So either you can run a DB query to get this data from the specific table based on your implementation, but our recommendation is to do a stock checking exercise whenever you are doing the migration, so that only whatever available stocks that you are going to use in the next future is going to be imported into the new system. Because in your old system, you may have expired lots that are used before, or the lots that you had purchased and sold out before. So instead of migrating all those, we recommend doing a stock check and migrating the required data. Yeah, so how do you do a lot number import is that you can go to inventory, then you can head over to products, lot or serial numbers, and you can use this favorites import record section. So this would allow you to import specific lot numbers for each of the product. Yeah, so one thing to be noted here on the lot number creation is, maybe let's say you have 5 different stock locations, and the same lot can exist in all the 5 different stock locations. Now, if you are doing an import process, and if the lot numbers conflict, let's say during the import of the first location, a lot has been created, then during the next import, you may see an error. You would get a validation error. As soon as you do an import, you would get try to do an import, you would get a validation error. So in that case, you need to remove the duplicates from your existing CSV files and then do the upload again. Yeah, so now once you have the lot numbers created, the next step would be doing an inventory adjustment to load the current on hand quantity. So now you may have purchased the products already and you have it in the inventory, right? So now you need to bring those inventory quantity into the system. So for that, again, you can prepare the same CSV file wherein you say the product, lot number, and what is your counted quantity. So this is your current quantity and your location. So you need to specify the location. Okay, this is my location and this is my counted quantity. And then the system will do an import. Yeah, and the quantity here is to be the product stock keeping unit. Maybe for example, here if you are storing it in, like say, bottle of 50 ml or bottle of 30 ml, and your product stock keeping units is in ml, then you need to pass this value in ml, multiply by the unit of measure, and then pass this value. Yeah, so here how can you make an inventory adjustment is, you can navigate to inventory operations, inventory adjustment, and then same, you have the favorites and import records. You can do an import records from here. Yeah. So, and one another note here is that there is a known issue in the Odoo import process itself, wherein if the same lot, for example, let's say lot ABC, if that ABC specific lot is used across multiple products, there could be scenarios wherein the lot numbers are same for 2 different products. So in that case, what might happen is that the lot that is picked up by an export process would map it to the different product. The lot would map it to a different product. And when you do a testing, when you do test of the import file, then it would throw you an error saying that this lot is not properly mapped. So in that case, what is recommended here is you need to pass the database ID in the lot number column. So here, if you see lot/serial number, instead of the actual lot/serial number, you can pass the database ID. And now you may, like say, do the mapping. How do I get the lot/serial number ID? So we have developed a simple Python script that can help you do. So this basically connects to your DB and searches for the product and the lot ID. It matches by name and then updates the CSV file. So you can pass the input CSV file and it would give you an output with the mapped lot ID. Or if you want to use a different mechanism, if you want to generate, like say, and export out of from the database itself directly, you can do that as well with your custom tooling. So this is a reference script that has been developed. Yeah, so now if you are using the database ID while doing the mapping, it would prompt you to map it to lot/serial number/database ID. So this is a few things that should be noted while doing an inventory adjustment. Yeah, so once you resolve all the validation errors and your test says everything is valid, you can do the import. So once the import is done, it would create all the inventory adjustments in the created state. It would not apply directly. So for example, if I let's say dextrose, and if I want to say counted quantity as 20, yeah, so all your inventory adjustments that you import would be added in this state. Now you can apply all these inventory adjustments in bulk. You can select here and then do a apply all. So this would apply all the inventory adjustments and it would prompt you for a reason. So here you can specify the reason, maybe imported from old system or current stock checking on this specific date. So you can specify this and then you can do an apply. So now once you do this, your current on-hand quantity on the system would be updated. Now if we go to products and search for, let's say, DNS, yeah, we can see that the on-hand quantity is updated to 20. Yeah, so this is the import process that you can use to bring in your current existing quantity into the new system. Before we move on to the next one, any questions here? Okay, all right, taking that as a no. Then moving on to the next one. The next one is patient outstanding. So how the patient outstanding guide, this guide helps you to migrate the outstanding amount. So in order to add the outstanding amount under a patient, you need to create an invoice. So for that, you need to prepare a CSV file of this format, CSV, or it could be an Excel format. So you need to provide the partner ID, or you can match by name if there could be duplicates in name matching. So that we recommend using the partner ID. This is going to be the Bahmni's ID. And then what is the outstanding amount? So rest of the fields are going to be the same. Like you need to update your currency based on your implementation. And if you are using extensive accounting features, then this guide might not be helpful for you. You need to investigate and find out what other details needs to be added. So this is for the basic details that are need to be migrated. So basically you update these two columns, partner ID and then the outstanding amount. Yeah, so there is also a query that is given which helps you to dump the current outstanding. It figure out what is the outstanding amount. It could be either in a positive, which says that's a receivable. If it is in negative, it should be a payable. So you can run this. It would give you an output CSV file containing the partner ID, name, and the amount that is to be paid. So you can use the CSV as a reference and populate this Excel file. Yeah, so once you had done that, you can navigate to the customer invoices screen. So invoicing and then customer invoices. So again, here you would have an import records option wherein you can upload your Excel or a CSV file over here. So once you apply, it would import all the data that is passed over on the CSV file. So one learning that we had during one of the implementation migration is that if your CSV file is like, say, has so many rows, for example, 10,000, 1 lakh rows, sometimes Odoo times out saying that there is a memory error. So here we recommend passing files in batches saying like, say, 500. So we had tried until 500. It seems to be working fine. So we recommend splitting the files into 500 rows and then importing it. Yeah, so once you do an import, the invoices will be created. And then there is a manual step wherein we need to set the invoice type. So invoice type needs to be set as out invoice. So we have the query over here so that it updates the database directly. You need to run this inside the Odoo database. Yeah, the next would be once you complete the import and update the invoice type, the invoice will be in the draft state. It would not be posted. So for that, again, you can do select all. You can select all the invoices and then do post entries as mentioned here. Once you post all the entries, the invoice will be confirmed and posted. And once the invoice is posted, it would be in the not paid status and it would automatically become an outstanding for that specific customer. Yeah. So now the outstanding would start showing up in the customer, either on the customer sales quotation page if you are using or on the during the payment process as well. But this is a high level guide. If you want maybe transactional data, I want the line items also to be migrated, then additional scripting or additional CSV based import needs to happen to migrate more data if needed. Okay, any questions? taking that as a no. Yeah, so now that we have seen how do I migrate metadata and then the other master data that is used by the Bahmni EMR to sync data from EMR to Odoo, and then also few thoughts on the transactional data. So now next would be how do I start the sync? Now that we had migrated the product information, customer information, outstanding information, the sync should not start from the first. So we have all the atom feed events. So those atom feed events is already synced to our old system, and few transactions has happened already. So here the sync should start from the place where you had started with the migration. So when you start with the migration, you can take a backup of the markers table. So markers table in the database holds the information until the point where the sync has happened. So now you can dump the values only of the markers table, and you can keep copy and save the output to a text file or to a CSV file and keep it. Then the next would be, yeah, so now in your older system, the IP or the one that is pointing to would be either it could be localhost or it could be your instance IP on which Bahmni and Odoo, EMR and Odoo is deployed. So here now, if it is going to run on the same Docker network, then you need to update the URLs, the host IP and the port in the URLs. It should be like say OpenMRS:8080, so that it would interact within the Docker network and it would not start with a different host. Yeah, so now since the database, Odoo database is a fresh database, the markers table would not exist. And now if you start the Odoo Connect service directly, what it would do, it would create the markers table, and within 30 seconds or a minute, it would start the sync from first, which may create older quotation that like the first quotation or the first order that is defined in your EMR can start getting synced. So in order to avoid that, what is the step that you can follow is you start the Odoo Connect with a wrong password for the OpenMRS atom feed user and the password. So in case maybe you can set it as dummy so that the sync would not start as soon as the Odoo Connect service starts. So you just bring up the Odoo Connect service and wait for the Odoo Connect service to boot up and it runs the Liquibase migrations. So that on the database, you get the schema created for markers table, failed events, whatever schema that is needed for the atom feed sync to happen. Now, once that happens, you can keep checking the logs until the migration is complete. Then you can stop the Odoo Connect service and import the markers information that was backed up before. So whatever data that you had before, you can so this command will basically give you insert queries. Just you can run the insert queries on the Odoo database and you can populate the markers table. So now what will happen is your older systems implementation, wherever the sync has stopped and you started the migration process, the new version also would come to that point because we had did the master data and transactional data migration before. Now, once you have this and once you have verified the markers table is loaded correctly, you can start the sync. You can do Docker Compose profile, Odoo up -d. So this would bring up the Odoo Connect and Odoo containers if it is stopped and start with the migration process. So now what will happen is any quotation, any order that is placed or any product that is created before will created after that specific point will start getting synced to the new system instead of starting the feed from the first. Yeah, so then you can do a rollout to your users, end users, and your business process as usual can begin from there. So this should be the migration strategy for migrating from older versions to Odoo 16. Yeah, any questions? Okay, all right. Let me share this documentation also over chat documentation link. Yeah, and for anything, Odoo also has a efficient documentation that is maintained. It has a user docs as well as a developer docs as well. So for any features or any customizations, if you are looking, you can refer to this documentation. All right. Cool. I think that's it. We are at the end of the session. If we have no more questions, then we can end this session.
Yeah, hello, Mohan. I had
Yeah, hi.
one suggestion. Like, Whenever you upload that videos of the training session on the YouTube, could you please include those helpful links under that description,
You mean the
if
slide decks?
possible? Yeah, I didn't notice.
Sure, yeah, we'll get that added there as well. Or we would also update it in our documentations in the Bahmni wikis. This would be referenced, including the recording and the other sessions. So you can refer to the wiki pages as well.
Okay, sure.
Right. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.